This was designed by audio engineers for audio engineers. Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Today we're checking out an incredible digital mixer series from Yamaha, the DM7 series. Now, there are two basic models in the family, the DM7 and the DM7C or DM7 Compact. Both can be expanded with the DM7 control module, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, and that turns them into the DM7EX and the DM7 Compact EX respectively. The DM7 consoles are ideal for so many applications, for fixed install in venues, for concert touring systems, for theaters, in churches and houses of worship, in school environments, for corporate events, and so much more. You can also add optional broadcast and theater packages to DM7, making it even more powerful in those applications. For those familiar with Yamaha's flagship Ravage consoles, DM7 has many of the features and attributes of Ravage, but at a more affordable price point. And for existing Yamaha CL and QL owners, DM7 offers a dramatic upgrade in power and improved sound quality without requiring you to replace your existing infrastructure, such as stage boxes and so on. In fact, DM7 supports Yamaha's line of Dante Rio stage boxes and is even compatible with show files from Ravage CL and QL consoles. So what do you get? With the DM7EX in front of me today, you can handle 120 channels, 144 Dante streams, 48 mix buses, 12 matrices, 2 stereo buses, 2 Q buses, 12 mute groups, 24 DCA groups with memory for 500 scenes. You've got 4 insert slots per channel, tons of processing power with slots and effects and processors available all over the mixer, whether on inputs, outputs, and so on. And these include high-end processors from Ravage, Rupert Neve Design's Portico processors, and more. Plus, for event work, DM7 includes 64 channels of Dugan auto mixing. You can connect to a computer and use DM7 via USB for sending 18 channels to and from your DAW. And you can also record to a USB drive right from the console itself. As far as hardware, the first thing you'll notice is all of the screens and displays on the face of the console. We've got 2 12-inch multi-touch displays plus a 7-inch multi-touch display, and there are numerous displays all over the face of the consoles with indicators, lights, and again, displays that tell you exactly what's happening at a glance. There's never any question of being able to see exactly what you need with DM7. With the console itself, you get 28 motorized faders, and the DM7 control module adds 2 additional faders. Plus, it has a jog scrub wheel and a joystick panner, direct access to scenes, 4 additional banks of 12 user assignable buttons, and more. DM7 has 32 mic preamps on board, plus 16 analog Omni outputs. A pair of AES EBU ins and outs provide 2 stereo pairs of digital I/O. There's word clock I/O, 5-in, 5-out GPI, Ethernet for networking, as well as primary and secondary Dante ports. DM7 features dual redundant power supplies with locking connectors, and there's a headphone jack with dedicated level control right up front. DM7 Compact, by comparison, supports 72 channels and has 16 mic preamps and motorized faders on board. A huge feature is that you can actually split DM7 in 2, making it 2 completely independent consoles in one frame. This means that you can run monitor world and main front of house mixing at the same time from right in the same console. To take things even further, there are a number of software packages for DM7, including DM7 Editor, which lets you set up and operate from a connected computer as well as back up your settings. There's DM7 Stage Mix, which gives you iPad remote control over the console. There's a Monitor Mix app for smart devices for controlling individual monitor mixes. And for converting file formats from Ravage PM, CL, QL to DM7, there's a console file converter as well. Let's take a look at how easy it is to navigate DM7 and explore some of what it can do for you. When you step up to the console, you'll notice right away that we basically have 3 sections. There's a left bay, center section or center bay, and then I've got the DM7 control module installed here on my far right. The 2 bays, the center and the left, are basically identical. You can display and work with different sets of channels there, different inputs and outputs and all those kind of things, or you can use them as one larger console. So if we focus just here on the center, everything is duplicated here on the left as well. You can see we've got our 12-inch multi-touch screen here, and this gives us so much information at a glance, and there's a number of different ways we can use that, as we'll see in just a second. We've got 12 faders per bay, motorized faders, on-off or mute switches here. We can select channels by clicking. We've got Q on-off. Both of the bays feature 6 assignable keys or buttons here, and each one has an associated display as well. Very easy to assign those to a wide range of different functions. You call up the banks by pressing here. We hit this one. Now my first button now is assigned to my first mute group. I've got a second mute group here as well. We've got a function latch and so on. Wide array of different functions that can be assigned to these buttons for instant access. At the top, we have an important control. This is our touch and turn control. And when you select a parameter on screen, whatever that might be, you're instantly accessing that with touch and turn. Now, of course, you can also move any of these functions with your finger as well. But a very cool feature is when you do select something, let's go back here, we'll hit home. There's a home key that automatically takes you right back to the home setting. When you select something, it opens up and its parameters are arrayed across the screen, and they're also mapped to the encoders at the top of the fader banks. So I can instantly grab threshold, range, attack, hold, which is also assigned to my touch and turn because it's highlighted. I can highlight attack instead if I want. We've got decay, we've got mix balance, and so on. And that's going to be the same for any of the screens that we call up here. The parameters are going to automatically be arrayed right across the top. But at the same time, you can still see your channel numbers, still see your meter, and you can still see the fader settings at the bottom of each channel as well. As I mentioned, we have our home screen here. It's going to automatically highlight whatever channel we have selected. We can move through those. And we can hit that home screen again to see more of a channel overview. We'll come back to that in just a second. But we have other displays here as well. We can change what the fader bank is doing using these controls. Right now I've got it displaying the fader input banks. You can select any of those up to number 120. I'm on 13 through 24. If we go to our outputs, we've got our 48 mixes there, as well as our stereo and our monitor outs. We can display DCAs and dot control here. We've got custom fader banks, so we can assign those and create those as well. There are 4 of those available. We can also choose to assign our faders to control our sends. There's a sends on faders right here, and now the faders will actually change the amounts that's being fed into each mix. We've got our 48 mixes here, and we can just select one of those. We'll choose mix number 1, and now we have all our mixes here. If we click on that to open that up, we can now see our mixes, and our selected channel will be controlling whatever mix we have selected. We can also assign our encoder mode, and that determines what's affected when you turn the knobs here at the top of each channel strip. So we can set that to pan balance, for example, and it'll automatically default to controlling the pan or balance for a stereo set of channels on a particular control. Let's take a closer look at the channel strips and what's available for each one in DM7. You can see our overall view here. We're looking at channels 13 through 24, but we can quickly pop through the different banks here. We can also open up individual processors and different functions for the channels. We can open up, for example, the sends and see what's happening with those on each of our channels. I'm just working with our first mix, so we see that arrayed across here. Very easy to hide that again. Now we can also look at the channel strip overall. So if we click up here, we can see our digital output patch. We can see our insert point. We have several different places we can locate that: pre-dynamics, pre-processing, mid-processing, pre-fader, post-fader, and so on. So you can assign that insert exactly where you want it, and actually there are 4 of those inserts. We can also set our fader, whether it's in DCA, whether it's following or not. We've got a level control there. Now what we're looking at here is the 12-channel digital out, so we can also look at our 12-channel gain settings. So here we have our analog gain, for example. You can see it changing here. We can engage 48-volt phantom power here if we want to, and so on. Or we can look at a single channels gain as well. So we've got digital gain here, we've got analog gain there, we can use our touch and turn to access that. There's digital gain, we can access that, and so on. Now we can hit the X to close out of that. We can open up our overall channel strip if we like. We can see that we're looking at gain now. We can also look at our first dynamics processor for the channel. Again, you see that the parameters are arrayed here across both the physical encoders as well as the bottom of the screen. So I can adjust the threshold here if I want. I can adjust the range, attack time, and so on. We can move to our second processor, which is our EQ. Now in this case, we can grab and move things. The 4 bands are assigned right here on our knobs. In fact, you can multi-touch those and adjust them at the same time. We've got a second dynamics processor here. We can choose a different type if we want. We've got compressor 260, legacy comp, gate, de-esser, expander, and so on. Here's where we can access those 4 insert points right over here. We've got 4 of them per channels, and again, you can set where those are occurring. We've got delay for each channel, so we can line things up properly if we like. We can look at 12 channels. We can look at 72 channels if we want to, or we can look at channels 72 through 120. We've got our output channels and so on. Going back to 12 channel there. We can look at our sends from this view as well. One thing about DM7 is that there are many ways to get to any particular parameter, so you can always quickly get to exactly what you need from whatever screen you're on or wherever you're at on the console. We also can look at the send to our stereo mix and so on. At the top of the screen, I mentioned before that we can access our scenes here. We choose our fader banks here. This pull down allows us to set up metering. We can use channel inputs. We can choose to meter on the full screen. You can see everything here. Close that out. This is our patch display that allows us to route our inputs to any of the outputs. We've got a whole huge matrix of things that you can do here for recording, for output ports, for output channels, input channels, and so on. You can look at them in grid view. You can also choose to look at them as a list. So a wide variety of ways you can work with that. The rack is where we access our processors. So we can look at those here. We've got all these different slots that we can load processing into. Very extensive. We go over here to effects. We can see some of the different effects there. We've got different reverbs. This is a hall. We can call up a room if we like. We've got modulation effects, chorus, flanger, phaser. We've got saturation effects. We've got delays. We've got other effects as well. Multiband compression, for example, auto-wah, all kinds of different processing available inside DM7. And as I mentioned, some of that is coming from Rupert Neve Designs, and some of it is being brought over from Ravage. Our settings are over here, and that includes our general settings that tell us our version number, for example, our firmware number. If you have the theater package installed, you can load up different actors for different settings, delay compensation. You can set the language, you can set how high the speed of the fan is, all of those kind of things here. We've got user setup, we've got surround setup, which is in the broadcast package, bus setup, word clock, MIDI GPI. Network is where we would set things up for networking over Ethernet as well as over Dante for device control. We've got an expansion PY slot on the back that allows you to add more functionality to the console, and you'd access that here. And finally, we have setup for the DM7 control module over here, and this allows us to assign whatever we want to any of these user assignable buttons. Again, there are 4 banks of 12 user assignable keys over here just on this module by itself, so we can offer a ton of control there. And again, very easy to step through those. We also can assign what's happening with the jog shuttle wheel, with all the different settings. We can assign the faders and so on. So a lot of extra power when you add these in. There's also a monitor section, by the way. Monitor A and monitor B with dim, mono, alt 1 and 2 settings. Now, so far I've been focusing on the 2 bays, and again, you can do the same thing on the 2 different 12-inch displays that we have here in sets of faders. You could have them do different things, the same things. You could have them displaying 24 channels, some inputs, some outputs, and so on, so a lot of flexibility there. But we also have this 7-inch touchscreen over here that gives us access to a variety of functions as well. We've got 4 more faders here, 4 more encoders. And you can see right here, to give you an example of how deep this console is, you can even adjust the different lighting and color settings for all of the different displays here. So we can adjust just the mini LCDs. You can see them fading in and out, the brightness of those. We can adjust the color bars that are under the LCDs, turn those up and down. We can adjust the overall panel settings right here on the front panel, so that's all of the lights there. And there's also a light underneath the edge of the meter bridge, if you will, here. We can turn that up and down, and you can even change the color of that light if you like. But moving up to the main part of the screen here, we can set up our user-defined keys here. Again, 4 banks of those that are accessible. We can set up our monitoring assignments here. We've got scene lists here that you can work through. Again, I've just got 2 saved here, but we can pop between those, recall those, update them, and so on. There will be an assist function coming in an update. It's not active yet, it's just a beta at this point. You can save and load here from internal storage. We've got a loudness meter if you have the broadcast package installed, and that will allow you to view instantly what's happening with loudness inside the console. An important one is system settings, because this is where we can actually split that console. We can do it as a single unit, or we can split it to a dual console, one side for monitors, one side for front of house, one side for broadcast, one side for front of house, however you want to set things up. It's 2 completely separate independent consoles inside one chassis, which is so cool. We've also got a log that tells us what's been happening, errors, you can see my user errors there, and a variety of other connections and things that are happening. So you can save a log of what's going on with the console as well. So a lot of power here. You can assign channels, and for example, I've got stereo out A and stereo out B, stereo mix B, I should say, and stereo mix A here on these 2 faders. They're also duplicated over here on the sidecar module. And again, we can access all of that here on the sidecar module too. So many different ways that we can access things, and so much instant access, both from the screens and from the panel itself. I hope you enjoyed this look at the amazing DM7 from Yamaha. I've been using Yamaha digital mixers since the original DMP7 way back in the 80s, and throughout the decades they've continually advanced digital mixer technology, currently culminating right here with the DM7. If you're considering a console for install in a venue or facility, for touring, events, productions of all sizes and more, DM7 really ticks all of the feature and specs boxes, and needless to say, it offers state-of-the-art sound quality as well. In particular, if you're looking to upgrade from your CL or QL console, DM7 is definitely where you want to go. You'll find it a big leap forward. The DM7 Compact is ideal if you don't need as much local I/O and fewer faders, but do need a portable, powerful, lightweight solution. For larger scale work, DM7 is an ideal choice. It can handle an incredible amount of audio and routing. In either case, I highly recommend the DM7 Control Expansion module as well. It gives you a ton more hands-on direct access and controls. You can install DM7 Control right into your console as I have it here today, or you can even take DM7 Control and use it remotely by networking through to the console so you can place it anywhere you need it. Now, it's really been fun getting to know this console. I found it super easy to navigate. I was up and running without even cracking the manual. Clearly, this was designed by audio engineers for audio engineers. It has all the power and deep features pro users need, but is easy enough for anyone to use. To find out more about the entire DM7 family, as well as the Rio stage boxes that expand the system, head over to sweetwater.com. Or reach out to your Sweetwater sales engineer. Sweetwater has more Yamaha certified pros than any other dealer, and our sales engineers are expert on DM7. We'll be happy to help you choose and use the DM7 system of your dreams. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.